Cinderella, a tale of kindness, forgiveness, and believing in magic. Once upon a time, in a faraway kingdom surrounded by rolling hills and sparkling rivers, there lived a young girl named Cinderella. She was kind, gentle, and beautiful, with a radiant smile that could brighten even the darkest day. Despite her hardships, Cinderella's heart was full of love. Her mother had passed away when she was very young, leaving her in the care of her selfish stepmother. Cinderella's stepmother had two daughters of her own, who were spoiled and envious of Cinderella's beauty and kind nature. While they wore fine clothes and lived in luxury, Cinderella was forced to do all the housework, cook their meals, and dress in rags. She was treated unfairly, but no matter how harsh her stepmother and stepsisters were, Cinderella remained kind and patient, never letting their cruelty change her heart. Her only friends were the birds and animals in the garden. Every day, she would find comfort in their company, sharing her thoughts and hopes with them. Even though she was often alone, Cinderella never gave up hope that one day her dreams would come true. One day, exciting news spread across the kingdom. The prince was hosting a grand ball at the palace, and every maiden in the land was invited. Cinderella's stepsisters were overjoyed, spending days choosing their gowns and practicing their dance moves. Cinderella, however, could only dream of going, as she was forbidden by her stepmother from attending. As the night of the ball approached, Cinderella worked tirelessly to help her stepsisters prepare. She helped them into their gowns, styled their hair, and wished them luck with a gentle smile, even though her heart ached with longing. After they left for the palace, Cinderella sat by the fireplace, tears glistening in her eyes. She whispered to herself, "If only I could experience a little of the magic my mother used to tell me about." As she made her wish, a soft glow filled the room. Suddenly, a warm, soothing voice spoke. "Why are you crying, my dear?" Cinderella looked up and gasped in wonder. Standing before her was her fairy godmother, surrounded by a shimmering light. The fairy godmother smiled kindly at Cinderella and said, "You shall go to the ball." With a wave of her wand, the fairy godmother transformed Cinderella's ragged clothes into a stunning gown that sparkled like the stars. On her feet, she wore delicate glass slippers that shimmered with every step. A pumpkin from the garden became a magnificent carriage, and the mice were turned into handsome horses to pull it. Cinderella's heart swelled with joy and disbelief. "Remember, my dear," the fairy godmother warned gently, "the magic will only last until midnight. When the clock strikes 12, the spell will be broken, and everything will return to the way it was. You must leave before then." Cinderella nodded, her heart fluttering with excitement. "Thank you, fairy godmother," she whispered, and with that, she climbed into the carriage and set off for the palace. When Cinderella arrived at the palace, the ballroom was already full of guests. But the moment she entered, a hush fell over the crowd. Cinderella's beauty and grace captivated everyone, including the prince. He approached her with a warm smile and asked, "May I have this dance?" As they danced together, it felt like a dream come true for Cinderella. The prince's kind eyes and gentle manner made her feel like she had known him forever. The night flew by, filled with laughter, music, and joy. Cinderella was the happiest she had ever been. But as the clock neared midnight, Cinderella suddenly remembered her fairy godmother's warning. The clock began to strike 12. Without a word, she hurriedly pulled away from the prince and dashed out of the ballroom, her heart pounding. As she ran down the grand staircase, one of her glass slippers slipped off her foot. She didn't stop to retrieve it and disappeared into the night, just as the last chime of the clock rang out. Back at home, Cinderella's beautiful gown and slippers turned back into rags, and the magic was gone. But she held on to the memory of the wonderful night she had shared with the prince. The next day, the entire kingdom was abuzz with the news that the prince was searching for the mysterious maiden who had left behind the glass slipper. He traveled from house to house, determined to find her. When he arrived at Cinderella's cottage, her stepsisters eagerly tried on the slipper, but it didn't fit either of them. Cinderella, who had been quietly watching from the corner, stepped forward and shyly asked, "May I try?" The prince smiled and nodded. When Cinderella slipped her foot into the glass slipper, it fit perfectly. The prince's eyes lit up with joy, and he knew at once that she was the maiden he had danced with. Cinderella's stepsisters were shocked, unable to believe that the girl they had treated so poorly was the one the prince had been searching for. But despite their cruelty, Cinderella didn't hold any grudges. With a heart full of kindness, she forgave them, believing that love and forgiveness were more powerful than anger. Cinderella and the prince were reunited, and soon after, they were married in a beautiful ceremony at the palace. Cinderella's kind heart, her ability to forgive, and her belief in magic had led her to happiness and a life filled with love. And she never forgot the lesson her fairy godmother had taught her, that kindness, courage, and forgiveness could bring magic into anyone's life. Moral of the story: being kind and forgiving, even in difficult times, can lead to happiness and success. Cinderella's kind heart, courage, and ability to forgive her stepsisters teach us that love and kindness are the most powerful forces in the world. No matter how hard life may be, holding on to kindness can create magic in our lives. Follow-up questions: why did Cinderella's stepmother treat her unfairly, and how did Cinderella respond to the unkindness? What magical gifts did the fairy godmother give Cinderella, and why did she warn Cinderella to leave before midnight? How did Cinderella's kindness and forgiveness lead her to happiness in the end, and what lesson can we learn from her story?